Today I will be talking about something else than horror movies for once, as I will be talking about music. Now we can laugh at the insane clown posse for being, well, rapping clowns, and the fact that they had the Miracle song out a few years back and all of that. But the ones who can laugh the most is the deadly duo themselves, Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope. They can look back at a career that has spanned 25 years. There's not a lot of music acts that can say that, especially artists that have been generally looked down upon by critics and non-fans. The group started in and still rep the wicked shit, which is basically another name for the horrorcore subgenre of rap. The horrorcore genre is exactly what the name would make you think it is. It's dark music that consists of aggressive lyrics that goes more for shock and storytelling than lyrical ability. For fans of horror movies and rap music, this should be the perfect genre to listen to. It will be hard to argue against the statement that Insane Clown Posse is the leader of this genre and has been so for years and years. I've been a fan of the group for years, and that's why I've decided to compile together a list of their most disturbing songs. I've judged these songs mostly on subject matter, creativity, and mood. I am not saying that these are the best songs that ICP has done, or that these are my personal favorites, but I do believe that these songs are the top 10 most disturbing songs Insane Clown Posse has created so far. Here we go with the number 10 spot. This is the newest song on this list, as Falling Apart is from the 2005 album The Marvelous Missing Link, Lost. This song starts out with Violent J's character calling into work to take a day off due to sickness, and then proceeds to tell us listeners about how his entire body is literally falling apart. It's basically a concept of a person's body aging through its entire lifespan in a single hour. There's absolutely nothing that the person it happens to can do about it. What's more disturbing about this song is the fact that there is no background or reason given for why this is happening to the poor guy. It's a great concept, and as with many of the songs on this list, you have to wonder how the hell did this come up in the mind of Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope. At number 9 we have a fan favorite from one of ICP's best albums, the amazing 1995 album Riddlebox. The concept of 12 is that a guy who has been given a death sentence comes back to life and is given one night to take revenge upon the 12 jurors who gave him his sentence. The idea behind this track is simple. Are the ones who put a death sentence on a human being any better than the ones who commit murder? And aren't they basically just doing the same thing? It's of course told in a very Tales from the Crypt-ish type of way, and the way it is described makes it easy to visualize the dead zombie going around murdering these people in very graphic details while he's still rotting away. This is a perfect example of why Insane Clown Posse became the band that they became. The sound and style of ICP had really grown into their own by the time of the Riddlebox album. The slow way of rapping that Violent J does on this track, and most of the other tracks on this list, just adds to the mood of the song, and a concept like this just can't work in a song with a faster pace. 12 is a classic ICP song, and a great song to start out with if you are unfamiliar with the band or the horrorcore genre.
Hello, class. My name's Mr. Felcher.
Dude,
Mr. Johnson
I'm sick
seems
of
to be
all
out
this
today with the
substitute
virus,
stuff.
so
Where the
I'll
fuck
be your
is Mr.
substitute
Johnson
teacher
at?
this afternoon.
We're going back to the previous album from the Riddlebox on spot number 8 with the second card in the 6 Jokers card deck, The Ringmaster. The track that gets this spot is Mr. Johnson's Head. It tells the tale of a young guy in school who feels overlooked and like an outcast, a general topic of ICP songs, especially in the early days. The isolation he's feeling and the hatred for his everyday in school has driven him to murder his teacher, Mr. Johnson. He has beheaded him, and now he keeps his teacher's head in his bag, carrying him around in school, not being noticed because, well, no one ever does notice him. What sets this story apart from the other songs ICP has done is how the guy Violent J is rapping about seems so calm. He's not a guy who has mentally broken down and became insane. This is a kid who has been overlooked all of his life and now has started in what I will presume is the first of a long list of murders. His actions aren't a cry for help or attention, he just wants to make a mark so he can see that others notice what he's doing, regardless if they know that it's done by him or not. Scary feelings that are also most likely what's been going through the heads of several students that ended up shooting up their schools over the years. Even if this was made several years before school shootings that started to sadly become a yearly occurrences in the States.
The Stalker.
The Stalker of their 1993 EP Beverly Kills 50187 is the earliest song on this list. This song tells the story of, well, a stalker that gets obsessed by a girl that he doesn't even know and then proceeds to terrorize her for weeks, following every step she goes and even watches her in her own home. There are several small interludes where she's telling someone how this is affecting her and making her go crazy. A haunting and nice touch to add to the track, as it goes from the creepy interludes right onto the hook where the stalker brags of how much this hoe likes him and that it's going to get her in the end. There is a very minimalistic sound to this production, and Violent J hasn't quite mastered the art of flowing on a track yet, but that just adds to the atmosphere of the song. Adding even more to the terrible concept of stalking is that at the end of the song there is an answering machine message from a guy who was actually stalking Violent J's real girlfriend at the time. Creepy shit.
This is Lori. I can't make it to the phone right now, but if you leave your name and number, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks. Bye.
You ever want anything so bad you can taste it? Lori, I can taste you. I'm gonna go brush my teeth now.
Coming in at number 6 is Truly Alone of the Hell's Pit album. The song starts off with a guy talking about how he's all alone, that nobody cares about him. He has absolutely no one in his life, and after 2 verses of Violent J rapping slow about this guy that has no one, things turn even worse in the 3rd verse as J raps about how he says fuck it and goes into a supermarket, grabs a chainsaw, and then goes crazy on everyone around him. The fatal ending for this guy is that he in the end gets shot by the cops, and it is a happy ending for him as he no longer has to suffer and finally has made a mark in life. I'm guessing by now that you can see a thread through the songs that I find disturbing and that ICP, and especially Violent J, finds fascinating to write about, and unfortunately is very familiar with himself, is the idea of being alone, depressed and isolated. It's not a good state for any human being, and it might drive a person to extreme actions. People need to feel loved and noticed at any age in their life, and if they don't, they might not feel they have anything to live or die for. Truly Alone is a good example of that, and that's why it gets a spot on this list. And from the very same album, we now have a love story gone bad with In My Room. In My Room tells a story of a young guy who has fallen in love with a ghostly apparition that appears to him in his bedroom at nighttime. He's another fella that has a little going on in his life, and that's how we can find solace in a dead entity. Of course, things can't just end well, and this ghostly figure starts to make him do violent acts, ending with him murdering somebody that spotted them together. When he's done with the murder and gets home, the dead girl does not return again, making him not only alone but also guilty of murder and mentally broken. The song ends with cries of being abandoned and realization of what terrible acts he has been driven to, all by a ghost who took advantage of his loneliness. This is a real favorite of mine, and a track that does not get as much recognition that it truly deserves in my opinion. It is a very sonically appealing track to me, and it talks about the reoccurring topic of being an outcast, this time the loner being tricked by a girl. He starts off lonely and ends up lonely, as his entire world becomes focused on his dead lover instead of using his time to learn to appreciate himself. It's a tale of danger, as it is dangerous to put everything you have into another human being, or a dead being as it is in this song. Cause it could just as well have been a living girl that made him turn to murder. And this is my type of love song, so yeah, no one would be surprised to hear that I'm still single. Now from one love song to another, we're going back to the classic Riddlebox album again, landing on a number 4 spot with Cemetery Girl. This tale is on the sweeter side, as it is simply about a guy that is still in love with a girl who has died. He's drawn to her dead corpse, and these feelings gets the best out of him, making him dig up her body to make love to it. ICP has done several songs with necrophilia in it, but this has to be the very best one. It's the closest you will ever get to a romantic song by ICP that does not include murder, unless you consider digging up a corpse and making love to it as violence, of course. As I guess that's rape, considering the corpse can't give consent. Cemetery Girl will fit right in on any best of CDs either of ICP or horrorcore, and actually wake up to the instrumental of this song each day, and it is the song used on my alarm clock.
Fuck yeah, motherfucker! I don't want no stuck-up little sassy, brassy bitch, you know what I'm saying? I want me a cold, stanky bitch!
This is a Channel 7 news brief because the news is happening now.
Good evening, Mort Perkins reporting. Our top story tonight: police and investigators are still trying to figure out how and why somebody stole 4 dead bodies from the Wayne County morgue late Monday night. Police say the apparent body thief entered through the basement window. But how they eluded the security and alarm system is still a mystery. But what we at Channel 7 are wondering, what kind of sick fuck would steal 4 dead bodies anyway? Details at 11.
Let's stick with the Riddlebox album a little bit more. Sometimes you have to wonder what the hell was going on mentally with Violent J in the early 1990s. Dead Body Man tells the story of a demented guy who has a fascination with dead human bodies, going to the lengths of shocking the local community by actually stealing them from a morgue. As is usual with ICP songs, there is an explanation regarding how this guy became the way he is, and it is the usual insane loner stereotype of having a shitty childhood and never being loved, just to the extremes. This guy was apparently so ugly that the doctor threw him against the wall upon birth. There's also a bit of necrophilia added to the mix, of course, and the entire thing ends up with Violent J holding up the mirror to the viewer and comparing his deranged needs to the ones that keep dead animal parts as trophies in their own house. PETA would be so proud of this song. The production is classic Mikey Clark, and Violent J has a nearly innocent type of storytelling going on, switching his voice up a bit to give this performance the eerie feel that it needs to fully succeed. This track was actually the first one to make a mark in the local Detroit market, even becoming a minor radio hit in the early days of the group, and it is today a fan favorite of Juggalos worldwide.
Said you wouldn't understand. I'm just a dead body man. Won't you be my prom queen? In the morning, won't you be my prom?
In 1996, ICP released an EP filled with mostly deranged love songs. The best out of the bunch is Prom Queen, which nearly made the number 1 spot on this list. Prom Queen tells the story of another young, socially awkward student who are an outcast and a loner. He has built up the courage to ask a popular girl named Christine out to be his date on prom night. The girl not only rejects him, but laughs at him and makes fun of him in front of her girlfriends. This is the final straw for the guy who has had a shitty childhood with poor parenting, and it makes him break. This was the final situation where he would get humiliated, and it is time for payback. He kills her and carries her body back to his house. He has decorated his cellar to be the replacement for the prom night party going on at school, and he dances the night away with his dead date. There's a lot of songs on this list that deals with the same issues as Prom Queen does, but goddamn, this song is done so amazingly that it puts it nearly on top of this list. Violent J's performance on this track is just perfect. The song is basically a thought that probably have breezed through the minds of plenty of young outcasts worldwide. Thankfully, most are able to keep these demons in check. But there are always those who cannot, and Prom Queen is a song about one of those examples. And on top of the list, we have another of ICP's dark romance stories that goes wrong with Under the Moon. Violent J raps the 3 verses of the song from the perspective of a young man who saves his girl from getting raped, but ends up in prison for shooting the guy who attempted to harm her. He feels no regrets about it initially, as his love for her is worth doing the prison time, but over the verses he starts to realize that her love for him does not last, as she doesn't write him letters back and never comes to visit him. The lack of response from her drives him mad, making the listener questioning if he was perhaps insane all along. Now I absolutely love Under the Moon, and it might be in my top 3 of all ICP songs. Not only is the subject matter both sad and disturbing, but the way Violent J delivers his rhymes and the mood of the song and chorus makes it easy to visualize the story in your heads. Over the years I come to the conclusion that the character of the story was the mentor from the start, and that the girl he thinks loves him is actually in a relationship with another guy, who Jay justifies murdering because he believes he's trying to rape the girl. It might just be my imagination, but it wouldn't be the first time, or last time, that the idea of a mentally disturbed outcast breaking down would be a topic for an ICP song. Under the Moon is brilliant from start to finish and is well deserving of being in the race for any type of list regarding the songs of Insane Clown Posse.
For who I feel is due. Look here, fuck you and the moon. Fuck you and the moon.
So there you have it, a list of 10 great ICP songs that deals with controversial and disturbing subjects. Hopefully this list will have some interest to people that still aren't that familiar with the group. And for the juggalos who watch this, much clown love. I usually do movie related content, so if you are also into horror or B-movies, then check out my other stuff on this channel. And do any of you out there want more music content from the horrorcore genre on my channel? Then let me know in the comment section below, and as always, thank you for watching.